The Celestial Empire, or Points and Pickings of Information about China and the Chinese, by George Mogridge. Chapter 20. Provinces, Pekin, and a few of the wonders of China. Had I no other occupation than that of describing China, and had you the time and inclination to attend to my descriptions, hardly do I know when we should come to an end. But my narration must be brief. My points and pickings must occupy as little space as possible. The northern provinces Pekin, Shantung, and Shanxi have very extensive plains, and in winter the climate is very severe. In Pekin are many large cities, such as Baotingfu, Tianxingfu, and Pekin, the capital of the empire. On this latter city I must dwell a little. But first, let me mention the other provinces. Jiangnan, Zhejiang, Jiangxi, Honan, and Haoguang are the central provinces. The famous city of Nankin is in Jiangnan. When it was the capital of the empire, it was called the Southern Court. We must not altogether pass this city by. Honan lies in the heart of China, between the two great rivers, Huanglo and Yangtze-Kiang. The Celestials call it the flower of the middle, for it is considered to be the garden of China. The southern provinces are Guangdong, which is also called Guangdong or Canton, Fukien, and Guangxi. I have already spoken of the city of Canton, and there are other great cities of the south, such as Foshan, Chowqingfu, Chaojiufu, and Nanyongfu, of which I might speak, but time will not allow it. The western provinces bordering on Tartary are those of Shenxi, Zhejiang, Guizhou, and Yunnan. This part of China is more mountainous than any other, and here, in the recesses of the everlasting hills, reside the Miaojie, the Lolos, and other independent tribes in almost a savage state. The islands of China are numerous, though many of them are of little note. Among the most considerable are Hainan, which is more than 50 leagues in length, and Formosa, east of Fukien, which is still larger, being 250 miles long and 80 broad. The people of Formosa differ much from the Chinese. The other islands lie for the most part in groups, such as Ladrones, famous for pirates, the Piscadors, and the Chusans or Shusans. The Empire of China has noble rivers and canals. The firstborn of ocean, the Yangtze-Kiang, which rises in Tibet, passes through the very heart of the empire and falls into the Yellow Sea, its banks being adorned with many a goodly city. Even now can I fancy myself gliding in a sampan along this princely stream. Northern China boasts the Huanghe or Yellow River, while the Xiqiang waters the south, flowing into the Chinese Sea. For commerce and irrigation, these rivers are of great importance. Our largest English river, the Thames, is, as it were, but a brook compared with the Yangtze-Kiang, though the latter is greatly surpassed by the giant rivers of America. The mighty flood rolls onward far and wide, and keels unnumbered cleave the flowing tide. Perhaps you never heard of a canal that occupied 30,000 men 40 years in its formation. It is said that this was the case with the Imperial Canal, which is 700 miles long. If you wish to go from Pekin to Canton along this canal, you must go. Nothing could be better planned than this body of water, for as the rivers of China unite together the eastern and western parts of the country, so this and other canals unite the north and south. Ever since the Mongols were driven from China, Pekin has been the capital. This is indeed a wonderful city. It is agreeably situated on a fertile plain in the province of Pekin, and being the place where the emperor resides, it is called the Northern Court. Pekin, like most Chinese cities, consists of two parts. The new and most populous part is called the Chinese town. The other is the old or Tartar city. Both have strong walls flanked with towers. The walls in some parts are 60 feet high and the towers proportionately strong. The streets of Canton are narrow, those of Pekin are broad and usually thronged with people. For to say nothing of the provisions, necessaries and merchandise that are ever pouring in, the crowds of people that walk abroad, the groups of porters, sedan chairmen, carmen, handicraftsmen, smiths, braziers, tailors and barbers, which abound, are of themselves sufficient to people every pathway. Here, mountebanks and jugglers gather crowds to witness their performances. There, smiths and braziers ply their calling with throngs around them. And yonder, beggars are importunately beating their bamboos together to excite attention, while clearers on horseback are doing their best to make way for the people of quality, the mandarins and princes of the blood, who with numerous retinues are passing and repassing to different parts of the city. Fleet Street, the Strand and Cheapside in London are sufficiently thronged, but the streets of Pekin are still more densely crowded. It would astonish you to see so many men in the streets, while not a woman is to be seen. But customs of countries differ. In England, women are highly honored and have liberty. In China, they are undervalued and kept in comparative captivity. The glazed tiles covering the houses, which are low and long, are dazzling to the sight as they glitter in the sunbeams. The principal street is called the Street of Eternal Rest. Should you ever visit Pekin and have the opportunity to go over the whole of the imperial palace, and if you can persuade Tao Kuang, the emperor himself, to escort you, so much the better. But as he is not in the habit of manifesting such courtesy to his own people, I hardly think he will do it to a barbarian. If I thought that a letter of recommendation from me would be of any service, you should have it with all my heart. It is in the bosom of the Tartar city that the imperial palace, walled around, spreads out its edifices and its courts, its gardens, its parks, and its ponds. Many are the gates and galleries, the battlements, the pillars, the pavilions that arrest the eye, and the space they cover is enormous. The tribunals and treasury, the storehouses, wardrobes and offices, the temples, statues and trees, with the grand lake and the magnificent barges and boats of the emperor, all add to the general effect of the splendid pile. The great hall of audience, lofty and long, with its carpeted pavement, its throne, brazen vessel of perfume, pillars adorned with raised work of fruit and flowers, and its green varnished carved ceiling adorned with gilded dragons, is an impressive spectacle. But yet more magnificent is the innermost court, with its baths and pleasure houses, its lions and dragons, and its finely wrought tower of gilt brass, in which the most fragrant perfumes are burned. In this innermost court resides His Imperial Majesty the mighty Tao Kuang, the Son of the firmament of heaven, the great father of his people. So long have I dwelt on the imperial palace that I have no time to describe the temples of the earth and sun, nor the famous observatory. You must observe them all when you go to Pekin. And in the meantime, let me give you a few more points and pickings. Were I to describe all the cities and towns between Pekin and Canton, and the two places are 1,000 miles apart, you would find a great sameness in the relation for walls and gates, and old towns and new towns, and temples and low houses, and narrow streets, and mandarins, and bonzas, and crowds of people and chairmen, and barbers and tinkers, and mountebanks, and jugglers and beggars would figure away in them all. I will therefore say only a word or two about Nankin. Nankin, once the southern court, though not now the capital, is one of the largest, if not the very largest city in the empire. All Eastern nations are given to speak in hyperbole, and to dress out facts in high-wrought and fictitious language. We therefore wonder the less at the saying of the Chinese that two well-mounted horsemen setting off from one of the gates of this city in opposite directions and following the course of the walls will not meet till night. Nankin still ranks very high for its learned men, its trade, and its manufactures. But if we accept its beautiful gates, a few temples, and its porcelain tower, there are but few of its existing erections that call forth admiration. A third part of the city is deserted, and its magnificent palace, its costly observatory, its goodly temples, and its ancient tombs are in ruins. Thus pass away man's proudest labors. The goodliest temple and the fairest town, art builds them up, but time will pull them down. Everyone has heard of the Great Wall, more than 1,000 miles long, that passes over mountains and crosses valleys and rivers, built more than 2,000 years ago to repress the incursions of the Tatars. The height of it may be 30 feet in most places, and the towers, which are erected at no great distances from each other, are about 40 feet. The middle of it is formed of earth, and the sides of stone or brick. It does little more now than tell a tale of other times. Thousands of lives have been lost in the rigorous toil of its erection, and could it be sold for half the millions of money which have been expended on it, the treasury of Tao Quang might pay off the debt due to Britain without any difficulty. Everyone knows that China is famous for triumphal arches erected in honor of her heroes, and for bridges and pagodas. What think you of a bridge of white marble with colossal lions and 70 pillars on each side, like that of Loko Ki Ao? Or of another between 2,000 and 3,000 Chinese feet in length, supported on more than 250 high piers, crossing an arm of the sea? Such is the bridge of Suen Chiu Fu. Pagodas are numberless. The porcelain tower at Nanking is 200 feet high, and very beautiful are the tiles of porcelain with which it is roofed. It has 9 stories, but the most beautiful part of it is the cupola, which is highly decorated. Both the edifice itself and the prospect it commands are altogether unlike anything we see in England. Even now, Chinqua, in my fancy, am I with thee on the summit of the porcelain tower, and thou art pointing out to me the most attractive objects in the extended landscape that stretches far and wide. And once more I hear thee pronounce thy favorite maxim, applying it to the surrounding scene. Something is learned by the wise every time a book is opened. The pagoda just above Whampoa is an imposing object. Take it away, and you would sadly injure the interest of the scene. This pagoda of 9 stories, standing like a princely giant among the mean dwarfish hovels of the fishermen, is a goodly spectacle. Had it been built of marble as some have imagined, instead of the blue brick which it is really composed, it would not have presented the time-worn appearance it now does. Trees are growing in the ravages that time has made in its walls. Clustering wallflowers adorn its galleries, and plants of various kinds spring forth from its crevices. They spread and hide with flowerets free the crevice in the wall, and we, with such a lesson full in view, should hide each other's failings too. The Chinese are very fond of great bells. We talk of our great bell of St. Paul's, our great Tom of Lincoln, our Peter of Exeter, and our great Tom of Oxford. Why, many of the wooden clappered bells of the cities of China weigh 100,000 pounds. But bells, like other things, are great only by comparison. For the great bell of Moscow, which weighs more than 360,000 pounds, is 3 times the weight of any Chinese bell that I know of. Never yet have I discovered the wisdom of casting such enormous clamorers, but different people have different views. That such large bells could ever be fairly rung is not a supposable case. A peal of treble bob majors or grandsire caters on a number of them would make, I should think, the inhabitants of a city as deaf as a post. Moscow and Pekin, keep your huge monsters to yourselves and give me the Sabbath bells of old England.